Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. How are you? Last day of the week. All set? How has been the week so far? We have been discussing about liquidity for this entire week, and today we are at the last stage of understanding as a wealth manager what are the basic data points that I should be tracking in order to have a grip on this liquidity frontier. Okay, so that's the whole objective. So today we are going to look at it from a dashboard perspective. Okay, so now we have looked at quite a few things so far. Now, as a wealth manager, how many of you keep checking the market news every single day? Har din, every day you open up the dashboard. Maybe you get on to CNBC, some television channel, and maybe on your app, on your mobile, smartphone, somewhere. You keep checking the markets every single day and still feel shocked when the markets suddenly fall. अब देख तो हर दिन रह रहे हो, but still you're unable to figure out what is going to happen next. Is that a worry? अब देख हर दिन रहे हो, but still every day or most of the days you are in a state of shock. समझ नहीं आ रहा है ऐसा क्यों हो रहा है. Now we are going to look at that subject. कि ऐसा market suddenly rally कर गया. Now think carefully. If markets are so important, why are most people still getting surprised by them? क्या है इसके अंदर जो आज तक हमको समझ में नहीं आया? Because most investors are watching prices. Very few are watching the forces moving the prices underneath. What a situation. Let me make this little more uncomfortable. Most MFDs today can tell me the Nifty level, can tell me the Sensex, the latest headline, the top performing fund, but very few can answer, is liquidity becoming tighter or easier right now? And that is a serious gap. How many of you feel that this is a serious gap? Write your answer in the chat box. कि हर दिन आपको मैं दोपहर को, शाम को, रात को कभी भी पूछूं आज का हेडलाइन क्या है, स्ट्रेट ऑफ हॉर्मुज में कितने जहाज क्रॉस किए, टॉप परफॉर्मिंग फंड्स क्या है, सेंसेक्स कितना मूव किया, बेस्ट सेक्टर्स क्या है, एएमसी फंड मैनेजर्स क्या बोल रहे हैं, but very few can answer, is the liquidity becoming tighter or easier right now? Because markets don't crash randomly and bull markets don't appear magically out of nowhere. Before every major move, there are invisible shifts happening underneath. पहले बॉन्ड डील्स मूव होता है, डॉलर चेंजेस डायरेक्शन, लिक्विडिटी टाइटन, एफआईआई behaviors change, crude oil starts creating pressure. But most people notice these things only after the market reacts. Smart money doesn't operate like this. They track a dashboard continuously. कुछ ना कुछ तो डेटा पॉइंट्स देख रहे होंगे, right? Not because they want to predict perfectly, but because they want to understand whether the financial environment is becoming supportive or dangerous. And this is where most retail investors unknowingly stay blind. They react to visible volatility without seeing invisible pressures building underneath the system. So today's session is about learning how to observe markets differently, not emotionally, not through headlines, but through some hidden indicators that quietly shape. Shape what? Shape the risk appetite. shape the valuations, shape the capital flows, and the market behavior itself. But once you start tracking the liquidity conditions properly, then you stop reacting like a spectator. Do you agree to this? How many of you agree to this? Super. Chalo, give me a minute and let me bring up my presentation deck. Just a second, please. Okay. Is it visible? Visible है ना? चलिए, सुपर। देखो, आज सेशन खत्म होने से पहले ना एक और रिक्वेस्ट लेके आऊंगा। ओके, एंड please don't it might take one more minute, but we would love to hear how you felt about these sessions of this week. Okay, because we are building the sessions for next week now. Okay, and it's going to go beyond macroeconomics now. Okay, so आज के सेशन के बाद I'm going to share the link. You please do share your views, opinions, feedbacks on that link. Okay, chalo, let's move ahead. So we are going to create a liquidity dashboard. Okay, liquidity dashboard, and the invisible, so as to decode the invisible market forces. Okay, देखो, आप हर दिन चेक तो करते हो, but still you get surprised. Correct? We see in this because markets, give some cues long before the major move happens. But we are only watching the noise, not looking for the underlying forces that govern the movement. So the biggest mistake advisors make or MFDs make, we are just consuming information. Okay, we are tracking the headlines. ये अब पूछते रहते आज मार्केट ऊपर जाएगा या नीचे. All this information creates a huge amount of noise. Now, markets react less to headlines, but more to underlying liquidity conditions. Market stress usually builds invisibly before it becomes visible. As a retail investor, हमको क्या दिखता है पता है? As a small time MFD, हमको सिर्फ prices दिखता है. The bigger clients, the smarter money, the smart investors see actually the liquidity conditions. By the time the markets visibly react, liquidity conditions have shifted much. यही होता है. So we will look at something called the DFM or the MFD. चलो आपके लिए बेस्ट है MFD dashboard. Okay. M stands for money flow. FII, DII. वो एक पहला चीज हम लोग देखेंगे. FII, DII का money flow. Okay. F will stand for financial conditions. RBI का स्टांस क्या है, बैंकिंग लिक्विडिटी कंडीशंस क्या है. देखो, MFD याद भी रखना कितना आसान होगा. D will look at the debt levels and the dollar index. Okay, Dixie and US 10-year. DXY को Dixie बोलते हैं. And all of this resulting into the crude oil, the inflation trigger. Okay, this essentially drives the risk appetite underneath the market forces. ये money flow, financial conditions, dollar and debt levels, and the crude oil. ये चार चीज is absolutely great, insightful data points. Banking liquidity. Let's start with that. देखो, banking liquidity, either it is expanding or it is contracting. It is actually the most ignored domestic signal. Because the reason we don't know, but banking liquidity actually gives signal to strong liquidity. Strong liquidity में क्या होगा? Loans expand हो रहा है, spending is rising, risk appetite is increasing. Tightening liquidity में caution is spreading quietly, long before the headlines change. And this actually changes the behavior before it actually changes the GDP. आरबीआई स्टांस इधर अकोमोडेटिव हो सकता है या हॉकिश हो सकता है, करेक्ट। अकोमोडेटिव हो सकता है एंड हॉकिश, बीच का न्यूट्रल बोलते हैं, करेक्ट। So markets react to these future expectations, not just to current actions, not just to current actions. And markets will move more on the policy direction than on the policy announcement. याद रहेगा? Markets will move more on policy directions rather than on the announcement. FII versus DII क्या होता है? देखो, डोमेस्टिक इंस्टीट्यूशनल फ्लोज इधर वीक या स्ट्रांग। अगर स्ट्रांग रहेगा तो बुल मार्केट, वीक होगा तो गिर सकता है। सो एंड वी ऑल नो आज की तारीख पे डोमेस्टिक एसआईपी फ्लोज नाउ कुशन ऑल दिस काइंड ऑफ वोलेटिलिटीज। हम लोग पैनिक कर जाते हैं कि एफआईआईज बेच रहे हैं। पहले ये बहुत ज्यादा होता था, आज के तारीख पे तो काफी कम हो चुका है। वी डू नॉट पैनिक एज मच बिकॉज वी नो द डीआईआई लिक्विडिटी इज अब्सॉर्बिंग इट। पर अगर दोनों मिलके बेच रहे हैं then it is definitely a fragile situation. DXY, the dollar index. Okay. Strong dollar is an indicator of global risk appetite. Okay. If the dollar is getting stronger, the global risk appetite is getting weaker. सब उस साइड जा रहे हैं, इमर्जिंग मार्केट से पैसा। डॉलर स्ट्रांग है, कैपिटल सीक्स सेफ्टी, इमर्जिंग मार्केट्स विल बी अंडर प्रेशर। If the dollar is weak, then local currencies are improving. So it will create a risk on kind of trade. It will support all kinds of emerging markets. Okay. It's an indicator. It is just not a currency. It is a reserve currency. And the 10-year yield. The 10-year yield, so also decides whether the money is moving out of US into other parts of the globe or whether it's money going back into US. Okay. And these yields are completely constantly, competing with Indian equity levels. If the US yields are rising, interest rates are getting more and more attractive, then the investors will move back into US assets. Okay. Finally, the crude oil. Rising crude leading to import bill spikes, inflation then comes and hits you, RBI will turn hawkish, and domestic liquidity will tighten. Okay. And this is primarily so because India is an oil import dependent. 80% of your domestic consumption is imported. Rising crude will quietly tighten the financial conditions indirectly. Okay. All right. So 1 second. So what are the hidden layers? Strong Dixie, rising 10-year, rising crude, hawkish RBI, FII selling, tight banking. Okay. So these are the combinations that market looks for much before it hits the headlines. So maybe once in a week or maybe at least once in a fortnight, look at these levels. Create a dashboard. उसके बाद you will stop asking क्या आज market ऊपर जाएगा या नीचे. The question that matters is, are liquidity conditions getting supportive or restrictive? Improve your language, your vocab. Don't keep saying कि market weak लग रहा है, FI selling कर रहा है, crude oil बढ़ रहा है and all that. Change your language, signal institutional vocab. Your authority will go up over time. Financial conditions are tightening underneath. Global liquidity is becoming risk averse. Inflationary pressures may tighten financial conditions. Remember, most investors watch prices. Very few watch the forces shaping the prices underneath. And by the time the markets visibly react, liquidity conditions have usually shifted much earlier. Give me 1 minute. I would like to share the link so that you can definitely share your feedback with us. Just 1 second, please. Yes, I pasted the link in the chat box. And yes, here you go. I pasted the link in the chat box. Please do share your feedback about what you felt about the sessions of this week or any other thing that you liked, disliked, and what you would like us to cover next. Okay. So that would also help us to figure out what is truly of your interest. And looking forward to reading everybody's feedback on this Google page. It would be our privilege, honor, and we humbly request you if you could take out 1 or 2 minutes and share your feedback. It will be our privilege. All the very best. Have a great day ahead. Enjoy the weekend and see you on Monday exactly at 10:10 with the next session. All the best. Bye-bye.